Hello, my name is Nick Broughton and I am a Randomfish. If you're a Randomfish too, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's make some random fishiness together. Now, I've been doing some reviews for a while now. I've done a few movies and I've done a game, but I thought I'd try something on the third spectrum of weirdness today and review a comic book. Not just any comic book, I thought I'd delve into one of my favourite film series, that film being Clerks. What is Clerks, you might ask? Well, if you're watching this channel, you really should know who Kevin Smith is. But even if you don't, I'll give you the quick rundown. Clerks is a film made in 1994 by then indie filmmaker Kevin Smith, along with a whole bunch of his friends. The film itself takes place in a convenience store, is black and white, filled with a bunch of random pop culture references, a bunch of sexual innuendos, giggity, and of course a whole bunch of random quotes that people are still using today. 37? My point exactly. Over the years, Kevin Smith has made a whole bunch of films, ranging from not very well received at the box office to not very well received at the box office, but well received by fans in DVD sales. See Mallrats for more details. However, recently he's done a lot of really random films, such as a film about a man turning another man into a walrus, something I've got to review at some point in the future, as well as a film about bratwurst Nazis, and the random guy who does a whole bunch of 8 impressions. Don't worry, Ralph Garman, I'm not being too mean. However, the other thing that I've really got to think about with this is, of course, the other things that he's done. Kevin Smith has also written a whole bunch of comics as well. If you don't know, he's done Green Arrow, he's also done a bunch of Batman stuff along with his friend Walt Flanagan, and, surprisingly enough, he's also helped write Clerks comics! That's right. There's an entire comic series based on the aforementioned clerks of the quick stop convenience store, Dante and Randall. Now, Dante and Randall are featured in this comic, as well as the traditional duo of the Viewer's universe, as pictured here on the front, Jay and Silent Bob. Obviously Kevin Smith being Silent Bob. The trench coat and the beard, you can just tell he's an indie filmmaker. And Jay's just the one with his arse out, as you'd expect from Jason Mewes. Again, if you're watching this video and you're watching me, you really should know who these people are. It's just a staple of people who should know me. And people who should be in any way attracted to some weird, random guy chatting on the internet about completely nonsensical crap. However, this is not just a singular comic. This is approximately 3 stories plunged into one. Why is it so thin, though, you might ask? Well, that's mainly because, back when they originally published them, they didn't have a lot of space or issues that they were releasing. Why? Because the stories were so good, they had them minimized. There's a compliment in there somewhere, I forget where. The first story in this trio of comics, plunged into one gigantic omnibus, is about Randall attempting to make loads of money by selling off Star Wars action figures to the masses. This infuriates Jay and Silent Bob, who spend their entire time stood outside the store selling drugs to the kids. The kids can't therefore use their hard-earned money to buy drugs if they're using their hard-earned money to pay action figures. Jay and Silent Bob end up getting angry about this, and they end up doing something about it. Destroying a whole bunch of stuff and blowing a lot of things up out of proportion. That is Jay and Silent Bob in a nutshell, though. If you really want to know about that sort of thing, really watch Clerks. The second one is a Christmas special. The Christmas special itself is more or less Randall pissing people off, Dante being a misery guts, and Jay and Silent Bob getting into the holiday spirit in all the wrong ways imaginable. How do I imagine this? Well, let's just say with Randall's story, it involves a small kid, the convenience store, and a porn parody of Santa Claus. Need I say more? Sadly, I have to. He incurs the wrath of a whole bunch of people. Dante is essentially being told to embrace the Christmas spirit when he himself is working and honestly doesn't feel like he can get into the Christmas spirit. And Jay and Silent Bob are just being, well, Jay and Silent Bob. They pretty much spend their entire time sitting outside stores selling drugs. That's their thing. They are drug dealers, let's face it. The third one, however, is something that was really random, and we've got it now on the Clerks X DVD. The Clerks X DVD obviously containing a documentary, a trilogy of discs, if you will, and on the third one you have a complete documentary of how Clerks was made, The first disc is the actual film, and the second disc is the original cut of the film that was shown in the film festivals. The only problem is that on the first disc there are other things besides the movie, such as the lost scene. The lost scene, if you have watched it, is essentially when Dante and Randall go into a funeral home. In this, however, you actually have that in comic book format. And again, the movie itself is in black and white. So the comics are also in black and white. Weird? Not really, considering that's how the skill and that's how it was designed, and it's basically how Kevin Smith made his deal in the first place. The only reason why Clerks, I'm pretty sure, was one of the big hits the way it was because it was made in black and white. And in this one, it's no exception. In the third story of the lost scene, however, if you really want to get into it, here we go. They go into a funeral home because they're going to a one-time funeral of one of Dante and Randall's old school friends, Julie Dwyer. She died by doing breaststrokes at the YMCA and had an embolism in the pool. She dropped dead in mid-backstroke. The reason why this happened? Well, see Mallrats for more details. However, in the funeral home, you end up getting Randall acting like an ass, talking about the death cards that they hand out at funerals. Yeah, you really need to read this to get that joke. I'm not explaining it. It feels morbid, to say the least. However, Dante ends up telling him a story about why Julie's parents, would be so happy to see him at the funeral. Why? Because they walked in on him and Julie. Well, let's face it, they walked in on Dante going down on Julie and the whole one shoe off, one shoe on thing. It's explained better in the comics, leave me alone. Dante, of course, is a bit worried about her parents seeing him at the funeral, so they try and keep it quiet, they try and keep it low-key. However, let's just say keys get mislaid, things happen, there's a big misunderstanding, and they end up running out of the funeral home, incredibly embarrassed, and Dante embarrassed, Randall just hilarity ensuing for him, and of course they return to the soundtrack on the movie as being leaders and followers. Overall, this comic is, well, it's what you would expect. It's black and white, it's full of random pop culture references, it's got Jay screaming at the top of his lungs about cock-smoking clerks, it's got Bob not saying anything at all, it's got Randall shouting obscenities, it's got Dante saying I'm not even supposed to be here today. The film is basically in this comic, and the comic is of course based on the film. However, the thing that you have to remember with this, of course, is the world building that comes along with it. For many people, Kevin Smith was this indie filmmaker who did okay, but didn't do quite as well as other people might have hoped. However, to massive fans like myself, and indeed to many other people that I seem to know, Kevin Smith was one of the first world builders that I really saw. I mean, outside of the classic horror movie monsters. The viewer's universe was actually very well linked, and all the characters somehow from every film knew, or at least knew each other, or at least knew someone who knew the other people within the films. For example, you got Holden McNeil and Banky Edwards. They created something called Blunt Man and Chronic, based off of, you guessed it, Jay and Silent Bob. Now, Holden McNeil and Banky Edwards, of course, go off in separate directions and do other things. However, Banky Edwards and the actor who played him, Jason Smith... Jason Smith? Who the heck is Jason Smith? No. The actor who plays him is ultimately also goes on to be playing another character within the film of Mallrats, who in turn also knows Jay and Silent Bob. So in the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back movie, you get all these various actors playing various characters across the board. Ben Affleck plays Holden McNeil and plays himself in a movie. Himself. He plays Ben Affleck playing a character in a sequel to Good Will Hunting, with literally the line of going, "Applesauce, bitch." I mean, how does it not get much better than that? But let's face it, within these movies, and indeed within a lot of these things, actors like Ben Affleck, Jason Lee, Jason Mewes, and Kevin Smith, and indeed, actually, you know what, Matt Damon. Matt Damon is in this movie, because it wouldn't be Good Will Hunting without Matt Damon, let's be honest. But let's face it, Kevin Smith did what he did because he wanted to do it, and he wanted to enjoy himself. And frankly, that comic is the exact reason, and gives me a reason to just enjoy things as well. And you know what? I hope you will too. Hopefully I recommend you go off and pick up a copy of this omnibus, if you will, of comics. Read through them, have a laugh, catch the movies again, have a quick laugh with those as well, and just enjoy them. Randomfish, out. Ha!